Hello, hello. Welcome to the talk show. Make sure you put your name and where you're from in the comments so I can welcome you. Once again, I came on a little early so that I could try and figure out this whole pinning a comment situation. I don't know why this is so hard for me. How was your day? How was your weekend? Give me just a few minutes here. You could if you're watching the replay, you can fast forward about 4 minutes into the show if you're watching the replay, because I am waiting for the live viewers to join. Hello everyone. Oh my goodness. I don't understand. Seriously, it's been 10 episodes and I am struggling to pin a comment on my Facebook Live. So while we're waiting, and then again, go ahead and put your name. Open Facebook. It's the blue icon. Okay, so this takes you from like dummy level up. All right. I'm going to go ahead and research it because this is just driving me nuts that I can't pin this comment. I open Facebook, I go live, I describe the video, tap and hold a comment. Tap and hold. I swear I'm tapping and holding. This is so crazy. My hands, are they oily or something? I don't know what the heck is going on, child. So cray. Hello everyone. Welcome to the show. How's everyone weekend? Today's Monday, right? Come on, Jesus. Come on, Holy Spirit. Help me out with this thing. What is going on here? I still can't I'm doing everything they tell me to do. Something must be... For whatever reason, it won't do it. By the way, that's some smooth jazz in the background. The music is not mine. I don't know that a smooth jazz person will be listening to this anyway and be like, I can't believe she played my song. It's probably not going to happen. For all my repeat viewers, I got some new glasses. So here's the look without the glasses. Today, here they are. Some beautiful Coach glasses. I got 2 pairs actually because I needed to use up my benefit. So I had to get 2 pairs so that I can use everything that was needed. So I got these, and I don't know. You guys interested in seeing the other pair? I'm gonna go grab it real quick because we got a minute and we're still waiting. I can't pin this comment, child. Let me go grab it real quick so you guys can see. Okay, so these pair are just like regular everyday. They don't have all of the blocking the light out, all this other stuff these glasses have. So here's the other pair. Tell me what you think. Here's the other pair. Ooh, come through. Okay, what do you guys think? Should I do the live with these or with these? I'm gonna do it with these, even though I like the look of those better because these block a lot of the light and everything, like the lights that are on me from on my face and all that good stuff. Although these are pretty cute though. All right. It is 10 o'clock. It is our favorite time of the day, our sweet, delectable hour of good sex conversations with Coach Yema, which is me. I'm here to close that gap for you between your sexuality and your spirituality and let you know that they are 2 sides of the very same coin. I am also the author of equally delectable book called Good Sex. It is for single women, unmarried, whether you have children or not. And if you're tired of feeling guilt, shame, condemnation around your sexuality, and you're ready to feel free and empowered and whole and strong, connected deeply with your divine femininity, go ahead and pick this up. It is on Amazon and also on my website. There's also a link on my page for you to go to Amazon and get that book. All right, so I'm gonna put the computer down. I have my computer in front of me here, and I will be using it to look some things up here when the time comes. So I'm actually gonna lay it down right here. So, because I'm not gonna need it too much today because I'm introducing the topic. Number one, also, I wanna congratulate the Good Sex Talk Show and all of my viewers and everybody who's joined me in the premiering of the show. We are on episode number 10. I'm so excited. I realized it today. I'm like, oh my gosh, the most important thing, and this is a quick coaching tip for you all who are pursuing purpose and destiny, all of that good stuff. The power of your destiny is in consistency. So whether you feel like it or not, whether you're having a bad day, whether you want to go and hang out, whatever it is, if you stay consistent to the vision that God has given you, that is where your success and your power and the manifestation lies. And so getting to the 10th episode of Good Sex, 10 of many, many episodes, I am so pumped and so proud of myself. And another coaching tip number 2 is to remember to always celebrate your victories, however small they are. I don't care. It could be I woke up this morning, made up my bed. If you knew and you know for the past 3 years you have not been able to do it, and you do it, celebrate that victory. And so episode 10 is a huge victory for me, and I'm super pumped. I'm super excited. I've been going live on social media for a very long time. I think on this page alone, I have about I think it's 92 videos on here, and then on Periscope, I used to go live on Periscope as well, and I have over 100 videos on there, and I have a couple of videos as well on YouTube, so I'm very familiar going live. But this live that I've been doing, the Good Sex Talk Show, it is the complete manifestation of my desire and my purpose and the thing that I've been praying and asking God to do for the past, I don't know how long. And so it's amazing. So thank you for celebrating with me. Also, the next thing is our rules for engagement for watching the show. Please make sure you comment, and then share with your friends on your page, because the women that you know need to hear this. Let's have this conversation together. The more you comment, the more exciting the show is going to be for you. Also, if you would like to join me on the live chat, there is a green button right down there, and you hit that and your video is going to pop up here, and then we can have a live conversation. If you feel like typing it may be a little bit too much for you, let's go ahead and get you on here, and then we can have this conversation, and it'll be so sweet, and I would love to have you. And then for my replay viewers who are not catching me live, if you put your comments in as you're watching it, hey Shelly, thank you for joining. If you put your comments in as you're watching it, I will go in for my replay viewers and respond to that. So don't think that there will be no engagement if you're not watching live with me. I'm definitely going to do that for you. Okay, so for episode number 10, what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about, as the title said, if you read it, if you're able to read it, women, we are snatching back our pleasure, okay? We have been hinting and saying certain things here and there, talking about the pleasure of women and how we've not been able to express that, and what does it mean to own your pleasure. What is that? And we talked a little bit about masturbation, self-pleasure on Thursday and Friday last week. So we're in our 3rd week. It's time now to fully go into and have this conversation, because I had to warm you guys up a little bit, get you comfortable with the idea that you're watching someone on Facebook. Thank you. Shelly says she's loving the nightly show. Such a powerful conversation and much needed. Keep them coming. You are a force. Thank you, girl. I appreciate that. Mwah, 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 mwah. Kisses to you. Thank you for supporting. And I expect full engagement with you guys tonight, okay? So, snatching back our pleasure as women, owning our pleasure. And the conversation that we've been having, I'm going to give some little nuggets here on the show today, and then we'll like dive deep into it depending on how the conversation goes and what you guys want to cover more deeply. But we're going to be talking about the clit, right? That is your body part. It is not the vagina, okay? The vagina is separate from your clit. It's a clitoris. We're going to be talking about relationships with your body. I have notes here because I wanted to be prepared. Relationship with your body. How, as a single, unmarried Christian woman, can you really own your pleasure and own your sexuality? We're going to be talking about hygiene, the definition of sexiness. We want to know what's going on down there. So if you haven't Googled it, if you haven't taken a mirror to look down there in a while, we'll be having some exercises that you guys can go ahead and do that. And of course, we'll be talking about masturbation, right? Self-pleasing, and then the princess narrative. And then today, what I want to be talking about specifically today when I say women, it's time to snatch back, okay? Snatch it back, take it, snatch back your pleasure. It's time to snatch back our pleasure. And so for today's show, we're going to be talking about the permission to pleasure. Okay? We talked about molestation and how 1 in 4 women have been sexually abused, sexually raped, and taken advantage of and violated under the age of 18. So 1 in 4 women, by the time they turn 18, have been introduced to sexual pleasure and sexuality in this demonic, evil, wicked, horrific, I don't know what words to say. And just a by the way, what country was it? I saw an article where they are asking for chemical castration of men who sexually abuse children. What do you guys think about that? Is that like a yes, go ahead and do it? Or like, no, not okay, don't do it? Tell me what you think. And I'll keep going. You just put in the comments. And then I shared the video today of sex tourism that happens where men from European Western cultures go into these third world countries and they take advantage, they rape children. The video I put up, they were talking about young girls even at the age of 6. One of the girls was in a home, and from the age of 3 to 6, she was sodomized, raped, and recorded for porn to be put on the web. So from 3 to 6, and they rescued her at 6. And so those are all very dark and disturbing and terribly troubling introductions to sexuality. And a lot of what brings the shame that comes with being sexually abused and raped and molested is that your body responds naturally with being pleased, even though you don't want to, even though it's unwanted. It's like the thing about rape that people don't talk about. Like when you're being raped, I've not in my adult years, when I've known myself, let's say from teenage years to whatever, been raped before. But I've done the research on it and looked at it and talked to women who've experienced this. And so the shame of that is that your body, without your permission, is pleased. There's pleasure that comes from it because of the way we were made, right? And that can be so troubling for your mind and a woman's understanding of why would her body once again betray her in that way to feel pleasure. And so with all of that darkness surrounding female pleasure, all of that darkness that surrounds female sexuality, that comes from the pit of hell to make us shy away and say, you know what, I don't want anything to do with it. I'm going to lock it down. I'm going to open her up only when it's time to have babies and lock her back up, right? I don't want anything to do with it. Now, that's what back in the day, and even in a large portion of Christian culture, is, sex is understood as only for procreation, and there is no consideration of female pleasure, or that a woman should be pleased or be aroused. Hey Matt, thank you for watching. That a woman should receive any form of pleasure, or that it should be even considered when it comes to marital sex in a large portion of Christian culture. It's like, you have sex, you have the baby, you please your man, your body is his body is yours. Whatever happens in that, the marriage bed is undefiled. Go ahead and, whatever. But there's not conversation, especially when we have, hey James, thank you for joining me. Where you from, James? Especially when we talk about when the scripture that says, a man should dwell with his woman, with his wife, and understand and to love her. And because Christ gave himself for the church, there's a sacrificial understanding, which is absolutely nothing wrong with that. That is absolute truth. But when it comes to sexuality, which is a huge part of marriage, right? Of sex is a huge part of marriage. It's not generally talked about, and maybe I haven't been part of those conversations because I'm not a man. It's not general. Thank you guys for the likes and the hearts. It's not generally talked about that part of a man loving on his wife is to make sure that in that sexual encounter, he's not the only one that orgasms, that he takes his time and is patient with her to the point where she orgasms as well, right? And so from that perspective, it's not usually talked about. And then moving on to the next thing is like our sexuality and our pleasure is largely understood in the context of male pleasure and male sexuality, right? Because for some reason, we believe that it has to be, and it comes from back in the day, like the doctors and psychologists and researchers really didn't understand, women having orgasm or coming to climax, and that for a very long time thought that her orgasming was directly related to her getting pregnant. And so then again, male sexuality. And so there was a lot of talk around that. And then they realized, light bulb, right? That the vagina is not the same thing as the clit, because when they thought that her clitoris was, because that's what they would stimulate, doctors would stimulate her clitoris to make her orgasm. And they realized it was separate. They're like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? She can do this all by herself and she doesn't need us. It was like this huge thing. And then it became like the clit held all of these diseases, and that's what was causing all the problems. Like there was mental issues connected to it. And so there was like this uproar and it was a mess. And so I tell you guys all of the time, a lot of the understanding that we have about female sexuality. Number one, there's just a lack of understanding because there hasn't been research done to it, because it was assumed that we didn't have any sexuality or pleasure seeking behaviors or thoughts or anything like that. And then because they never thought that, when they did discover it, it became very threatening, that God would give women, right? And this is what we're talking about today, the permission to pleasure. That God would give a woman a part of her body that is solely just for pleasure. Solely for physical pleasure. No other gender. There's two genders. And if you look at the broader conversation people are having right now, there's more genders. But for the sake of this conversation, between a male sex and female sex, the female genitalia is the only genitalia that has a specific part of it that is only for pleasure. And if you think about that, right, because a man's part, he pees, he puts babies, through that, and then that is also the organ that he uses to climax as well. So it's all in one. And God took his time. This is how good God is, and this is why we kept joking around and said, God's a feminist. God loves us. When I realized that, it just blew. Now, let me not say when I realized that, because it's not like I never knew. Let me phrase that better. When I discovered, and this was late 20s, early 30s, not very long ago, and thought about, it was in the process of actually writing the book. So 3 years ago, in the process of writing the book, right? When I started to have the conversation with God about my genital parts, right? And looked at the clit and saw, and if it's offensive to you that I keep saying clit, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Because we say penis, we say vagina. Clit is not a cuss word. It's not a word to be used like it's a dirty thing. It's just like saying breast or underarms. Hey, J-Lo, thank you for watching. Is the game over? You guys heading home? What time is it? 10 o'clock? If that is offensive to you, I apologize, but I don't apologize. Just watch me with your earphones on, because I am going to keep saying clit, because that's what I say. I'm not going to say clitoris. There's a friend of mine that calls us the clitorius, which is the funniest thing, because she couldn't even say it for a very long time. Was like, oh my gosh, can I say that? It was just like a thing. So when I was writing the book and I was having a conversation with God and said, oh my goodness, like you created this part of me only for pleasure. What does that mean? Like, what am I supposed to glean from how you've made my body? We hear this a lot, and so this will be simple for you guys to understand. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, which means we should listen twice as much as we speak, right? So you've heard that. So like the way we are created has function, it has meaning. Like we should understand who God is from how we were made, right? Because we have eyes, we know that God sees because we're made in his image. We have nose and all the 5 senses because God has those senses as well. He has hands, we have hands, right? All these different things. And if you're now thinking like, but then as a woman, does God have breasts? Apparently he does in some form or fashion, because he talks about that in the Old Testament about feeding his children, all these different things. So God, I told you guys, in order for us to fully understand who he was, he had to manifest male and female, because he is both masculine and feminine. And so as we've been created, it is us in union that brings the full manifestation of who truly God is, right? And then us in union with ourselves, because we both, and I said this before, I believe this, have both masculine and feminine characteristics and expressions in each of us in different levels, right? And so you can have a very masculine presenting female, you can have a very, very feminine presenting male gender, right? And so that is just my understanding and my beliefs, because I've been here long enough and I looked around and it's clearly obvious. So when I realized that God gave me a clitoris or a clit only for pleasure, that he didn't give the man, what was he trying to tell me as a woman? From what I understand, you guys tell me what you think about that. Like, let me ask some questions, because I've been used to just being a talking head, and I'm wanting you guys to engage more. So we'll keep going, because I know I am fully convinced that we will get there where we're engaging more and having a conversation. In the meantime, though, I guess I have a lot to say, and so I'll just keep saying it until you guys start talking back to me. But that's all right. So what that communicated to me was that God was giving me, as a woman, permission to pleasure. Permission to pursue pleasure, right? Don't hear me saying permission to masturbate. That's a different conversation. But permission for me to have physical pleasure, for that to be a priority for me and whoever I find myself in relationship with. And if myself, I am not able to understand that God, by the way he's created my body, has given me permission to pleasure, and if I don't discover that for myself as an adult, or have been fostered and helped, like we talked about last week, with giving kids and children permission to self-please and not overlaying our own negative ideas about sexuality and experiences onto that child, that innocent child who's just self-pleasing. if I have been able to grow up in a sexually healthy environment where my body wasn't alienated from me, where my understanding of who I was included all of me, including my body, not just my mind and all these different things, but my entire body, if I have grown up in that, that will put me in a beautiful place, which I believe most, if not all of us, did not have that growing up. And so we have to relearn that when we come to Jesus Christ. We have to relearn how to integrate all of who we are and accept all of who we are in him and grow in that way. So now that God's like, okay, you have a clit, I'm giving you permission that your pleasure is important to me. Because all of my life, what am I finding out? Through my negative experiences as a child, through high school, through young adulthood, I'm finding out from the society around me, including my church, that my pleasure isn't a priority. That me as a woman being pleased wasn't even getting studied till 1960, right? Nobody even knew for a very long time that the vagina was separate from the clit. Right? And so because our male-dominated society didn't think that female sexual pleasure, female pleasure just in general, was something that should be studied, we still don't have a lot of research on any of that. But God is saying before they decided to place these negative standards on you, before they decided to tell you that it wasn't important, before any of that, because I knew they were going to do that. He's like, I knew they was going to wild out. I know these boys. I knew they was going to wild out. And so here's what I did. I gave you a body part to let you know that it's a priority for me. Now, how can we not love a God as women? I just found my book. I was unloading. Hey, VIP. I was unloading my books. Now, I don't know who this is, but it looks like it's someone from a different country that's asking to join. There's going to be a test, trial and error. If there's some crazy conversation being had, I will go ahead and stop that person. Let's see what happens. Okay, so they stopped asking. All right, cool. So, yeah, that was weird. It was like a name from a different country that seemed Middle Eastern. Now, I used to deal a lot with that on Periscope. When I was on Periscope, and be like, these like not okay comments, and because their society they're coming from, a woman talking about sex, they have different comments about that, and so I would have to regulate that. So that just kind of like took me back to my Periscope days when I would have to regulate some people on how to behave on my lives. Okay, so back to what I was saying. How can we not as women love a God who is saying, by the way he created us, by giving us a part of us solely, like the clit does nothing else but bring us pleasure. Nothing else. It has no other function. None. Right? No other function but to bring you pleasure. Physical pleasure. What is God saying? He's saying it's a priority. I love you. Right? Don't think that how society or how your parents or how your church or your school or your older sister or whoever it is, your boyfriend, your husband, no matter what they've said to you, I'm telling you that to me as your creator, because I made you perfectly, like beautifully mold you together, because I made you, I'm trying to communicate to you that it's important to me. Now, on our part, let's receive it. Let's say, yes, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Yes, I receive that you are for me. As a woman, you are for my pleasure as a woman. Now, I'm going to give some of y'all a little bit of time to receive that, because maybe you've never heard that before, or maybe, excuse me, it's kind of uncomfortable, because hopefully for all my repeat viewers, it's not too uncomfortable, because I've been trying to show you guys that our sexuality and our spirituality are two sides of the same coin, right? So hopefully it's not too uncomfortable for you. But if you're like, ooh, God, in my clit, like, I don't know if I want to talk about that. We are already, and I've already said it. And it's something that you need to talk to God about if you haven't. Because it's not something you're going to find in the Bible, like God is for your clit. But he created you, right? And he gave you that as a woman. And what he wants you to know is that your pleasure is a priority for him. And that in sexual encounters, right now we're talking about, physical sexual pleasure. In those encounters, he desires that you come to a place of orgasm and of climax. He made you that way. It takes usually longer for women to get to a place of climax, because there's two different ways that a woman can orgasm. That is through the clit or a vaginal orgasm, right? There's a possible third way, but I know for sure I've done research on two of those ways. And it can take longer, but her orgasming is much stronger than a male's, right? And so God is just really saying yo, I got y'all. If you would get the right partner who loves you, not just because you look good, and they just want to get wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. If you would get someone that would commit to you for life, that says, I love you no matter what you look like in the morning, no matter what your breath smells like in the morning, no matter if you're having a good day or a bad day, that I see you the way God sees you. I'm for you. We're in this 100%. So we have gray hairs and go to meet Jesus together. If you have somebody that is that committed to you, right, that loves you that way, that God's brought into your life, then in the bedroom, or in the kitchen or the living room or the car, wherever y'all like to do it, that gets transmitted into that environment, and you have someone who is going to want to please you. Now, I know for me as a young woman, not understanding and having this revelation, a lot of my permission to pleasure was me giving other people permission to be pleased by me, right? My pleasure was in pleasing them. And it wasn't about me. I wasn't none of that. I was, being promiscuous and all those different things. And I talk about that in the book in here. I was performing, right? I was performing for other people's pleasure. I didn't know that God was for my pleasure. I definitely never heard that in church. But you guys already know that. Never heard that in church, that God was for my pleasure. And so from what I knew from watching TV and porn, right, I was there for the man's pleasure or the woman's pleasure, or whoever I was in that encounter with. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about them loving me enough to take the time to be patient with me and love me in those places to where I could be comfortable enough to climax. Because the thing for women, and this is a broad statement that I'm going to make, because I'm going to link all of this, and you guys already know this, to your life in general and your purpose, right? In general, for a woman to be able to climax and to come to that place of orgasm, that place of ecstasy, she has to be able to feel comfortable, safe, secure, and let go of control. A woman who's always in control in those spaces, right, is because she's not comfortable, because she's performing, because she has to make sure she's wet enough, she's this enough, she's doing this enough. It's because that's what we learn, right? I need to make sure I perform well enough to make sure that the person that I'm with is able to come to a place of climax. It's really not about me, because generally what do we see in society? And I know you guys are not going to comment because it's getting a little too real for y'all. Let me see what time it is. Okay. Usually I start getting a little real by the end of the half, second half of the show, or I guess the last half of the show. Is only 2 parts, I guess. Because what we learn, right, is that sex is over once he comes, right? Once he orgasms, sex is over. And I heard this from a preacher, and you guys will be very surprised who it is, so I'm not going to say it. But I have watched all of his teachings, and I think he since deleted them from his website. But I watched his teaching. He was doing a panel. He was very young, talking about his role and his wife's role in their sexual relationship. It was the first time I ever heard him say this, and this made me love his ministry, respect him so much more, because as a man of God who was seen as just very prudish, right? You wouldn't think that he would say those things, but he was when I am in a sexual encounter, when me and my wife are being intimate, the sex is not over until she comes, and I make sure she comes first. And I was like, that literally is that's the last time I've heard a man of God. And this is like a straight white Caucasian dude straight from Texas, like saying this stuff. And it was like, I respected him so much more because I was like, that's a real man. That's what it's supposed to be about, but we don't get taught that. And he was in a marriage seminar. And so by the time you get to marriage, you already have all these jacked up expectations. You're going to have to go to counseling. You're going to have to get some kind of therapy to get you to a place of where you're enjoying sex with your husband. But regardless of all that. So in order for a woman to get to a place where she's experiencing and allowing herself and giving herself permission to be pleased and for pleasure, she has to completely let go of control. You cannot be the strong, independent woman in an intimate situation with a partner. Okay? And now the broader application of that is that if I'm not able to be vulnerable in that space, that carries on into other areas of my life, into me pursuing my passion, into me pursuing my purpose, into me allowing myself rest, into me allowing myself not just physical sexual pleasure, but what about the pleasure of the sun in your skin? What about the pleasure of wearing nice clothing? What about the pleasure of feeling really cute in shoes, right? That you bought that maybe you should have not bought. Hey, Sharita. What about the pleasure of eating something that tastes really good, right? We are constantly, as women, being bombarded with messages of telling us how to not allow ourselves the permission, like not giving ourselves permission to be pleased, to own pleasure, right? And I think that's why Joyce Meyer's book, I think Eat the Cookie, Buy the Shoes, was such a hot seller, because it was completely countercultural to the message that we teach women all the time. So we just talked about the physical sexual pleasure, right? You guys are like, what is Jayma talking about? And again, if God is going to give you a clitoris that is only for sexual pleasure, only for physical pleasure, he is for your pleasure. And so as a woman, there are other things that you are not allowing yourself permission to, because of the social messaging that you've heard, and the programming that you've gotten in school and in church and in your family and all of these different things that's telling you it's not okay to be happy, like truly happy for you, right? And you hear this a lot with women, like, oh, my entire life is just about other people. And there's nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong with the sentiment behind that statement. I wouldn't say there's nothing wrong with that statement. But it's okay to give yourself permission to be pleased, to enjoy pleasure, to enjoy life, to enjoy your purpose. For me recently, I just transitioned out of my full-time job into my business, right? And it took a lot for me to make that transition, although I've been wanting this for literally forever, but just for like I could say a straight 5 years. Want it and prayed and asked God, and it was so hard for me to make that transition as much as I wanted it. And the Lord made that connection for me, like, how can you pursue your purpose that I've given you, that is the thing that is supposed to bring you joy and fulfillment in life, if you don't understand that I am for your pleasure, like I'm for you enjoying life, which includes sexual pleasure, which includes physical intimacy, which the perfect physical representation of God saying yes to your pleasure is the fact that he's given you a clit. He's given you a clit, and that clit is saying you have permission. You as a woman have God-given divine permission to pursue that thing that gives you pleasure. Obviously, please hear that. I'm hoping we're adults here. I'm going to assume there may be some young people watching who are going to hear that differently. God has given you permission to pursue those things that give you pleasure, that are also within his design and his plan for your life. Okay? So If drugs are giving you pleasure, if abuse of any substance is giving you pleasure, I am not saying, and I'm saying this for the young people watching that may be watching later as well, what I'm not saying is that you can go and abuse yourself with reckless abandon and think it's okay, because it's not okay. The thing that brings you pleasure, that has peace, there's purity around it, not purity in the sense that we talked about. If you've missed those episodes, go back and hear what I understand purity to be, right? That is full of light and full of life, right? Because we can start, sin is always pleasurable for a season. We can start pursuing all those things and it's going to feel amazing. It's going to be like, yes, this is the best thing ever, right? And I'm talking specifically about the abuse of substances in our body and of other people. It can feel so great. We feel in control, but eventually it gets to a place of where we're not happy. Our mental health is suffering severely. There's a lot of anxiety and depression because those things don't take away our brokenness permanently. It is only a temporary fix. And specifically, if you have young people that are on your page, and this is going to be very important for them to hear, go ahead and tag them in this video, add them in the comments, and you can put, let's see how long I've been on here. It's 10:36 right now. I'm usually on here till 11. But the place you tag them, let them know to start watching from that place so they can hear what I'm saying. So the reckless abandon to completely pursue things that give you pleasure, that have no light or life in them, is really the things that give you pleasure that have darkness in it. And so eventually that darkness will manifest, will be apparent in your life. And when you find yourself pursuing anything that is excessive and it's taking you, and once it starts to change your schedule and your commitments, and you start to pull away from relationships that were healthy for you, once those three things start happening, you've entered into a dangerous place, and it's possible that you are in an addiction. And it could be not just of substances and all. You can be addicted to working hard and being ambitious and making money, right? That can be a seductive process as well. So once you get into that and you start to realize that you are experiencing some addictive consequences in your life, that's the time to start to really get back in the face of God and start to ask him, why am I doing this? And I'm not saying stop doing those things. I don't believe in telling people to stop the fruit of what they're doing without first knowing the reason of why they're doing it. Because I can stop doing it, this one thing, and it'll pop up in a different way in my life. Now I'm teaching an addiction. Praise the Lord. I can stop doing maybe smoking cigarettes, but then I start drinking alcohol. So I stop drinking the alcohol because I'm like, drinking alcohol is bad. And then I start smoking a little bit of weed on the side, and then I start doing that too much. I'm like, oh, this is wrong. So the root, though, could be that I feel lonely. There's depression going on. There's hurt in me that I find too painful to deal with. And so I'm going to self-medicate, and I'm going to escape the reality of this because it's too painful for me to deal with it. And so the pain, right, manifests itself into the abuses of these different substances and of myself. And so for a young person watching this, I needed to qualify that God gives you permission to pursue pleasure that is full of light and love in him. Okay. And if you don't know who he is love. And if there is people being hurt, or you're being hurt, or you realize that and we know it. We know when we're in those situations and you're doing it to the utmost because you just want to, blank out. You just want to escape. You don't want to think about anything. When you're like, I just need my mind to stop thinking, that's usually an indicator that there's pain somewhere on the inside of you that you haven't dealt with and you're afraid to deal with. And most of the time, you're going to need help dealing with that. And if you're experiencing that in your sexuality and you want to talk to me, I can help coach you through the healing of that so that you get from this place of sabotaging your life and spinning out of control, not knowing how to stop. The first step is just to ask for help. And that's all you need to do, not to fix the entire thing. Just ask for help, because if you knew how to fix it, you would have fixed it already. And the fact that you haven't is just an indicator that you need outside help. And that's okay. I have outside help. I've been through a situation, I think it was like 2 years ago, where I realized like something was really wrong with my habits. And so I started seeing a counselor. Obviously I'm a coach. I completely believe in the power of getting outside help to assist you in getting your life together from the dangerous, damaging behaviors that you could be engaging in that are possibly and more than likely getting you away from your destiny. And that's like my thing. Like, I don't want anything to mess up my destiny at all. Like, if you're going to come, I don't care the relationship, I don't care what you look like, who you are, if it's a job, if it's not in alignment with what I believe God's calling me to, I don't want it in my life. And if it's me hurting myself, which most of the time, probably 99.9% of the time, we are our biggest enemy, and our perception of how the things, like how we receive the things that are happening to us, is what really harms us, okay? So, in saying all of that, back to the goodness. God has given women a complete green flag to say, I am not calling you to be only an afterthought. You were not an afterthought to me. I was very intentional in creating you. I was very intentional in being for you. And so if there's something on the inside of you that you've been wanting to do and pursue, and you find that you've been hesitant to do that, and I'm going to make a very bold statement right now. If you have not been able to connect with your sexuality and the beauty of your sexuality and giving yourself permission, and we're going to talk about tomorrow how we give ourselves permission as unmarried women in our relationship with God and with others to be sexually liberated and to snatch and own our pleasure, be women of confidence and boldness and all these different things. If you haven't been able to connect with that part of you, you're not going to be able to pursue the purpose God has for you. And I am dead serious about that. Because the purpose God has for you, the plan that he has for your life, right? It is that place. And he told me this, 4 weeks ago. I was spending time with him and talking to him about my assignment and what he's called me to. And he told me, and it's true for you guys as well, who's watching this and my replay viewers, thank you. The place of your assignment, the place of your purpose in God is a place of ecstasy in him. It's a place, that union, because when you start to walk in your assignment, you get into alignment with God. That's a place of union. That's intimacy. That's climax. That's ecstasy. That's the fullness of joy the Bible talks about, right? And so if you're not able to receive that you've been allowed to have ecstasy, that you've been given permission for fullness of joy, not in this like weird Christian sense, but like no, fully, like yes, every day waking up like I cannot believe I get to live this life. Like I woke up today like yesterday and the day before. Yes, Jesus. Now I've had a couple of days. I'm not gonna be like every day is amazing. I've been like, dang, I can't believe I did this. But lately, because I've been meditating on that and focusing on the Lord and like getting up, and he told me like you have to stay in joy because you're in your assignment. Like this is the place of ecstasy. Now I've been able to get here and receive that, and I was going through my journal from the past 2 years, and I could see my and I do this often. If you guys don't journal, please do. I do this often where I go back when I start to see like I'm wavering and forgetting where I'm coming from. I'll go back to my journal, and I saw my process of when I actually started, and it happened about a year ago, like June last year, where I started to accept that pleasure was from God, like fully, like I knew it, like we can always know stuff here, but it became my experience where God completely gave me permission. And there were a lot of mistakes made. There were experiences, I don't know, that God was like, yeah, that's the one for you. But I did them anyway. And I fully immersed myself in saying, you know what? I'm going to experience life. I'm going to do the things that I don't care what people may say that I'm doing them. I'm just going to go be me and see what happens, right? And so I just did that for about a year and a half. And I, eventually settled down. But I did that, and I was just like, I'm going to just go experience life and just see what's out there. And God was able to speak to me in that season and say, I've given you permission. Like, I've given you permission to live fully out loud, right? But we can't, as women, do that because we've been so like pushed down, like, no, don't do that, don't eat the cookie, don't buy the shoes, don't wear that, don't do this, don't do any of that. Hey, Holly, thank you for joining. Don't do any of these things. And so if I've been told no, and then when it comes to my sexuality, it's only for other people, and I can only understand my sexuality and my pleasure in the context of male pleasure, then in my mind, I'm always thinking like, I don't have any permission to go out there and explore my life with God and just me, right? Without anybody else. I don't need a man tagging alongside of me. I'm laughing because my sister just posted something about like how she like is so excited that her husband's with her. And I'm not husband bashing at all. Please do not hear me saying that. I'm not husband bashing. I love men. They're amazing. Okay. I'm not hating on men at all. But what I'm saying is I am allowed to be me and enjoy pleasure and enjoy the good things of life without having to wait for, especially as a single woman, without having to wait for my husband to come for me to buy a house. I bought a house. Thank you, Jesus. Ow. Okay. I'm starting and launching my own business without a man. Thank you, Jesus. Right? Because I have accepted that I have permission with me and God to pursue those things that are deep down in my heart, those desires of mine, those pleasures, those wills that I have that I know are from Him. I have permission to do that without having it to be connected for me to be like, I think most of the time we want women to be qualified in marriage before they can pursue life. Like, you go ahead and put yourself on hold, and then you get qualified because now you're a real woman because you're married. You get qualified, and then now you can go ahead and move into those things that are exciting to you, right? Especially with me, with my subject matter of sex and sexuality and pleasure and spirituality, all those different things, it would seem logical that in order to control her and control her sexuality, keep her accountable, she would need to be married, which I definitely was told when I started talking about this 3 years ago, which I was definitely told by Christians. I would need a husband to make sure other people felt comfortable with me talking about sex because I was married. And so I wasn't this woman. Holly says, you are enough in and of yourself without a man. Thank you, girl. That without a man, that I could go in and have this conversation and be completely okay with it. Now, and to be truly, truly transparent with you guys, it really came to me from this revelation of the fact that God gave me a clit separate from my vagina, right? Where I would receive a man in sexual intercourse, right? Like, He completely gave me something different and only gave it to the woman. Why would He do that? If He was not trying to communicate to you that I know this stuff is going to happen. I know they're going to be wilding out and talking out their neck. Just joking. Man, I don't know if Jesus talks to y'all like that, but maybe sometimes he'd be like, they talking out. No, He never says that to me. He makes me laugh, but He's never mean to anybody. But God's like, I knew that people would have an issue and be fearful of female sexuality. I want you to know that I'm not. I knew that people would be extremely concerned and watchful of female sexuality and not want it to get out of hand, right? So I'm going to let you know once again that I'm for you, that I'm not those people. Right now they're working on, I'm not even sure they've rolled it out yet, working on the female version of Viagra, which Viagra came out in 1998. And now just recently, they started looking at female Viagra to get, if you don't know what Viagra is, it's supposed to help men get blood flow to the penis so that they can have sex. So the female version of it, though, are going to have psychiatric effects on their dopamine levels to help them feel like having sex. And then, like, they had an issue because they had the blood flowing to the wrong area, to the vagina, when it should be flowing to the clit. So they didn't even didn't understand. But the FDA legit is concerned that if they rolled out this female Viagra, that females are going to become hypersexual. Like, it's this thing, like, they're really legit grown men, people who have been through school. There is still this fear today. I'm not talking about yesteryear and like 20 years ago. I'm talking about right now, while you and I are alive, that there are professionals, medical doctors, sitting around a table concerned, and I don't have really any opinions about the female Viagra. Well, I do have opinions about it. But that we have medical doctors sitting around a table in this day and age, right, fearful that if they were to release a, had a bug fly on me, if they were to release a female form of Viagra, that females would become hypersexual, and that would be a problem. What is that fear? What is that fear? But God doesn't have it. God did not give us, and he doesn't have it, a spirit of fear over our sexuality as women. It's the world that has it, okay? So let's see here. We are towards the end of the program. Make sure if you join me late, go back and watch the beginning. It got real juicy about halfway through there, okay? I even had to take a break like, dang, girl, you going in tonight. But we had that good conversation, so go back in the beginning and watch it. Also, please share this with your friends on your pages and private messages if you don't want to, like, see that, have people see that you're sharing something that's called good sex. I don't know why, but I understand. I'm just joking. I totally understand. But you can share that in the private messenger and send them that so they can watch it, so you guys can have this, like, chat about it. And then also, if you're a single woman and you've been ridden by guilt and shame and just discussed with who you are in your body and getting really triggered in different relationships, like being brought back to like sexual abuse and all the different things. I know I experienced that before writing this book, and even a little bit now. And I know how to check myself when it happens. If you're ready to move to a place of being completely free from all of those things, go ahead and pick up a copy of this book. And when you do that and you read through it and you really want to talk to me, send me a direct message and I will give you a free session that we can sit down and talk about how you can start implementing what I talk about in this book, okay? Also, if you are a mother of a teenage daughter who you guys are in this unique place right now because she's forming her sexual identity more and more separate from who you are and the family, and you're struggling on understanding how to really get her to a place where she's walking in alignment, where her self-identity is going to be in alignment with who you know she is and who God knows she is, and you don't want her experiencing the same damage that you have. Click the link in the description of this video and set up a free call with me, and we can set up, I have an entire program built just for you, mama, to walk you through this very, very critical season of your daughter's life. And then if you are not subscribed or you're not following me on this channel, please go ahead and do that. And then join me tomorrow for episode 11. We'll be here at 10 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, which is also 12 o'clock Eastern Time, okay? So thank you. Thank you for watching. Love you guys. Have a beautiful night. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.